They erased Nadine Quade before the Luna bell finished ringing. Not killed her, not banished her, erased her. That was worse in the Hollow Pack Registry, where every wolf's legal breath was carved into the Moon Census Tablet, and every name meant shelter, food, burial, witness, and protection beneath the Alpha Crown. The Moon Census Tablet did not choose Lunas. It did not forgive crimes. It did not crown the women written on it. It remembered only legal breath. The name witnessed, the winter mark renewed, the dependent line attached, and any hand that cut a living wolf out of pack law. A wolf without a census line could be denied a healer. A widow without a line could be turned from the winter stores. A dependent without a line could vanish from a road and leave no crime behind. A woman without a line was not missing. She was no one. Nadine stood at the base of the black stone tablet while the court gathered behind her in ceremonial silver. Above them, the registry vault curved like the inside of a rib cage, all moonbone arches and old iron lamps, with the names of living pack members glimmering across the tablet in pale lunar script. The Luna ceremony waited beyond the eastern doors. Royal banners hung ready. The great bell kept shaking its low silver note through the floor, and Census Warden Selda Grith held a scraping knife against Nadine's name. By correction, authority of the Hollow Registry, Selda announced. Nadine Quade is removed from the active pack census pending investigation of unlawful attachments, false dependents, and unauthorized protection claims. The knife moved. One clean stroke. Nadine felt nothing on her skin. That was what made it monstrous. Her name thinned on the tablet, lunar letters peeling away like frost scraped from glass. Quade faded first. Then Nadine. Then the small winter witness mark beside it, the one she had renewed every year with blood, breath, and silence. The court watched, some with pity, most with relief. A woman who carried too many forgotten lines made comfortable people nervous. Selda turned toward the throne dais where Alpha King Thorne Strake stood beneath the silver wolf standard, tall, black-haired, broad across the shoulders, with storm-gray eyes, and a face carved by command rather than kindness. Thorne wore the iron moon crown as if it weighed less than the room's expectation. His right hand rested near the royal seal. His left remained gloved. Always gloved. Nadine had noticed that before anyone else. She noticed things. That had always been her only power. Majesty, Selda said, offering the correction slate. The census must be purified before the Luna ceremony proceeds. No unstable line may remain tied to royal witness law. Thorne looked at the place where Nadine's name had been. Not at Nadine. At the blank. For one dangerous moment, something moved in his expression. Not softness. Not regret. Recognition, perhaps. As if the absence on the tablet had answered something hidden inside him. Then Selda spoke again, quieter. If the correction is delayed, the alliance houses may challenge the ceremony. The court breathed in. There it was. Alliance. Order. Reputation. The three old gods of cowardice. Thorne lifted the royal seal. Nadine's hands stayed still at her sides. She would not beg to exist. The seal struck the correction slate with a dull moonlit sound. Approved. A murmur passed through the registry. Someone behind her whispered, "She carried dead weight too long." Another said, "Warden Grith should have done it years ago." A third, softer and crueler, "No proper Luna ceremony should open with a woman like that in the census." Nadine looked at the blank line until her eyes burned. She had expected Selda's knife. She had not expected Thorne's speed. That was the wound. Not that a king had power. She knew kings had power. The wound was how little time he needed to use it against a woman whose record he had never bothered to read. Selda rolled the correction slate closed. "Nadine Quade, by census law, you are relieved of pack claim until your attachments are examined. You will surrender your registry token and step outside protected standing. Outside protected standing. A clean phrase for being made prey. Nadine reached into the pocket of her dark wool gown and took out the small bone token she had carried since she was 12. It was worn smooth from years of opening store doors, healer doors, burial gates, and registry counters for wolves whose names the office had marked inactive before their bodies stopped needing protection. She placed it on the stone floor, not at Selda's feet. At the base of the tablet, Selda's mouth tightened. The token is to be surrendered to the census office. Nadine looked at her. Then let the office bend to pick up what it has taken. A few nobles went silent. Thorne's gaze moved to her at last. It struck harder than she wanted it to. His wolf was there behind his eyes, immense and restless, pressing against the man's control. Alpha power rolled from him in a low, invisible pressure, making lesser wolves lower their chins without realizing it. Nadine felt it touch the edge of her throat. She did not lower her head. Thorne noticed. So did Selda. Defiance does not restore a line, the warden said. No, Nadine answered. It only proves I had one. Selda's smile went thin. Your line was corrupted. Nadine's voice stayed quiet. By whom? The registry shifted. Not the people, the stone. A faint tremor passed through the Moon Census Tablet. Names flickered across its black surface, hundreds of living lines, shivering as if a cold wind had moved beneath the carvings. Selda glanced back too quickly. Nadine saw it. So did Thorne. The Alpha King stepped down from the dais. Each step silenced another whisper. By the time he reached the tablet, the court had gone still enough to hear the Luna bell fading beyond the walls. What attachments were tied to her record? Thorne asked. Selda bowed. Inactive burdens, old relief claims, unverified dependents, debt, claimed lines, transfer, eligible remnants. Nothing fit for ceremony. Nadine closed her eyes once. Nothing. Selda had called them nothing. There were 43 census breaths attached beneath her line because the registry had marked them inactive, transferable, debt claimed, or eligible for house purchase. 43 legal lives kept close enough to Nadine's name that the law could not sell them without first cutting through her. Thorne looked at Nadine. Is that true? She opened her eyes. Which part? That you tied unverified wolves to your line. Yes. A growl moved through the court. Selda lifted her chin in triumph. Nadine continued. Because your registry stopped protecting them when it found someone willing to buy their absence. Thorne's jaw hardened. You should have brought a petition. I brought 7, Selda said smoothly. All incomplete. Nadine looked at Thorne. You sealed my erasure faster than you ever read them. The words landed in the vault like a blade. Thorne reached toward the Moon Census Tablet. Nadine stepped in front of his hand. Gasps broke behind her. No one blocked an Alpha King's reach. No one with a name, let alone no legal standing at all. Thorne's eyes flashed silver gray. Move. Nadine's heart struck hard once. Her body knew what he was. Every wolf in the room knew what he was. Crowned predator. Law in flesh. The man whose command could bend spines before thought. But somewhere beneath the tablet, beneath the blank place where her name had been, something began to breathe. Nadine did not move. Read it first, she said. Selda snapped. There is nothing to read. The blank line answered. A woman's voice came from the empty space. She signed my winter mark. When the registry priced my breath, the court froze. The Moon Census Tablet glowed black-blue, and the empty line where Nadine Quade had been erased widened like a mouth. Another voice rose from it, older, rough with fever. Nadine renewed my healer, standing when the warden marked me inactive. Then another. She kept my debt claim from being purchased. Another. She tied my burial right to her line. Another. She remembered my name. The voices overlapped now. Not ghostly, not distant, but legal, each one carrying the sharp lunar weight of a census witness. Names began rising from the blank line in pale silver smoke. Not one, not a few, dozens. Thorne stared at the tablet, horror entering his face too late to be mercy. Selda stepped back. Nadine stood between the Alpha King and the empty line that had begun speaking for everyone the registry had tried to sell. Then the Moon Census Tablet burned one question across the black stone. Who sold the wolves hidden under Nadine Quade? Thorne looked from the burning question to Selda Grith's correction slate. His voice did not soften. Sold to whom? Selda Grith answered before the tablet could burn the question deeper. Majesty? Sold is an old census term. Her voice stayed smooth, but her hand had tightened around the correction slate. Nadine Quade saw the pressure whitening Selda's knuckles before anyone else noticed. She had spent years watching registry hands. The careful ones hid mistakes. The nervous ones hid crimes. Alpha King Thorne Strake did not look away from the burning question. Who sold the wolves hidden under Nadine Quade? His voice did not soften. Sold to whom? Selda bowed slightly. To no one. In the vulgar sense. The tablet is using archaic language. Sold means lawful transfer of inactive burdens. It does not mean living wolves were traded. A few nobles exhaled, as if she had handed them permission to stop being horrified. Nadine did not move. The blank space where her name had been still breathed behind her. Not loudly now. Not with voices. Only with the low, black-blue glow of a line cut open too soon. Thorne turned to Nadine. Is she lying? Nadine looked at him. You sealed my erasure before asking what the word meant. His jaw hardened. Good. Let it cut him. Selda stepped between them with trained precision. Mistress Quade has no active standing to interpret census language. Her line has been removed. My standing was removed, Nadine said. My memory was not. The Moon Census Tablet flickered. Selda's eyes moved to it quickly, then back to the king. Majesty. This is why unstable lines must be corrected before ceremony. A woman who attaches inactive burdens beneath her own name can make the registry appear accusatory when it is only purging irregularities. A burden does not ask for bread, Nadine said. A living wolf does. The words entered the hollow registry like winter through a broken door. Thorne looked toward the black tablet. Show me the transfer record. Selda's expression did not change. That was her talent. The transfer record is internal. Show me. No apology. No pity. Only command. Nadine hated how part of the room steadied under it. Selda unrolled the correction slate again and placed it on the narrow moonbone ledge below the tablet. Pale marks crawled across its surface. Nadine Quade. Erased. Attachments. Severed. Dependent lines reviewed. Burdens. Eligible. Here, Selda said. Her illegal attachments were identified for census balance. The alliance houses require clean counts before a Luna ceremony. Inactive lines can be reassigned for alliance census balance. Nadine stepped closer. Selda snapped. Do not touch the slate. I was not going to. She did not need to. The slate was written in registry shorthand. Selda expected nobles to see ink, seals, authority. Nadine saw sequence. She pointed to the lower edge. The winter mark is still warm. Thorne's eyes narrowed. Meaning? Meaning someone renewed these lines recently enough that the tablet still remembers breath. Selda gave a thin smile. Winter marks can remain warm for months. Not after erasure. The court went quiet again. Nadine kept her hand hovering above the correction slate. See this? The dependent line hooks beneath mine, not away from it. If they were inactive burdens, they would be loose. If they were dead, they would be closed. If they were abandoned, they would be gray. Thorne leaned closer. Nadine did not step aside for him. She only angled her body enough that he could see without reaching past her. They are silver, she said. Silver means protected. Selda's mouth tightened. Protected pending review. Protected by my line. That is the violation. No. That is why they were still alive in law when you moved them. The Moon Census Tablet pulsed once. Not solving. Remembering. Selda recovered quickly. Majesty. She is manipulating visual remnants. Old dependent marks often glow under royal presence. Nadine looked at Thorne's gloved left hand. Then ask why the transfer notch is cut before the erasure stroke. For the first time, Thorne looked at the slate as if it might bite. Where? He asked. Nadine pointed to the left margin, where a tiny crescent-shaped notch sat beside the first cluster of dependent lines. Nearly invisible. Too small for court eyes. Large enough for anyone who had waited outside registry counters for hours, watching clerks decide whether a name deserved winter bread. There, she said. Transfer notch first. Erasure stroke after. Selda's voice sharpened. Administrative order is not moral order. No, Nadine said. It is sequence. Thorne's eyes lifted. He had heard that word. He understood enough to fear it now. Selda took one step toward the slate. Majesty, inactive lines are reassigned before correction, so the census does not fracture. That is ordinary law. Then why is there a buyer seal? Nadine asked. Selda stopped. A small thing. A deadly thing. The court did not see the seal until Nadine pointed again. Not to the front of the slate, where royal correction marks shone cleanly, but to the underside edge where wax had bled through the bone. A faint stamp pressed there, pale as old fat, 3 vertical claws inside a merchant moon. Not a pack seal. Not a healer seal. Not a burial seal. A purchase house. Thorne's gloved hand curled. Selda said, That is a census balance seal. Nadine looked at her. Balance does not pay in claw marks. One of the hidden voices stirred from the blank line. Not a word this time. A low, broken whine. Every wolf in the room felt it. Heads turned. Shoulders stiffened. Even the nobles who had never missed a meal knew the sound of a living wolf trying not to beg. Nadine closed her eyes briefly, then opened them before anyone could mistake grief for weakness. Read the date, she said. Selda did not. Thorne did. His voice came out flat. Transfer entered at first moonrise. Nadine looked at the erased place where her name had been. And my erasure? Thorne read the next mark. The silence after it was answer enough. Second moonrise, he said. The tablet's glow deepened. Selda spoke quickly. Majesty, that proves nothing unlawful. Inactive lines can be reassigned for alliance census balance before a corrupted holder is removed. Nadine turned toward her. They were not inactive. Selda's smile returned, smaller and colder. The census office classified them. The census office priced them. The Moon Census Tablet breathed again. The winter marks beneath Nadine's vanished line flared one by one, silver sparks under black stone. Each dependent hook shone, each transfer notch burned. The buyer seal bled through the correction slate like a bruise. Nadine did not ask the tablet to speak. She read what Selda had hoped no one would look at long enough to understand. 43 protected lines, she said. Transferred before my name was cut. Not after. Before. Selda's face went still. Thorne looked from the correction slate to the blank space, then to Nadine. There was something in his eyes now. Horror. Yes. Anger. And beneath both, the first edge of guilt. Nadine did not soften. The Moon Census Tablet burned a new line across the black stone. Not from prophecy, not from favor, but from marks already opened before the court. Hidden wolves transferred before Nadine Quade was erased. Thorne looked from the burned line to the 3-claw seal bleeding through the correction slate. His voice did not soften. Which house owns that buyer seal? Selda Grith looked at the buyer seal, as if it were only wax. That was her gift. She could make a bruise look ceremonial if the room wanted badly enough to believe her. The 3-claw mark bled faintly through the underside of the correction slate, pale and ugly beneath the moonbone surface. Nadine Quade watched Selda's eyes pass over it once, then away, as if the seal had no more meaning than spilled candle fat. Alpha King Thorne Strake did not look away. Which house owns that buyer seal? His voice did not soften. Selda bowed with the exact measure of respect that gave nothing away. Majesty, buyer seal is an imprecise phrase. It is a census balance mark, not proof of purchase. Nadine almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because cruelty loved better names for itself. The hollow pack registry remained silent around them, but not calm. The Moon Census Tablet still glowed black-blue behind Nadine's erased line, and the burned words from the last reveal hung in the stone, like a wound that refused to close. Hidden wolves transferred before Nadine Quade was erased. 43 protected lines. 43 legal breaths. 43 wolves the court had called inactive, until the tablet remembered they had once asked for bread, burial, medicine, or witness. Selda turned toward the nobles. Alliance ledgers often carry receiving marks before census corrections are complete. It allows ceremony counts to remain balanced. The Luna ceremony cannot proceed with unstable registry totals. Unstable, Nadine said quietly. Selda's mouth tightened. Yes, a living wolf makes your numbers unstable. A corrupted record does. Nadine looked at Thorne. He asked which house. Selda's eyes sharpened at the directness. Thorne noticed. Good. Let him learn where to look. The Alpha King held out his hand. Alliance ledger. Selda hesitated, only long enough to show Nadine where the next door was. Then she nodded to a registry clerk near the west arch. The clerk brought a narrow, silver-bound ledger from beneath the ceremony table, the one prepared for the lunar rites beyond the eastern doors. It was not supposed to be opened here. Its cover bore moon lilies, crown wolves, and the names of houses invited to bind their counts to the throne. A marriage ledger dressed as celebration. Nadine saw the truth before Selda unfastened the clasp. Ceremony was where dirty law liked to wear white. Selda laid the alliance ledger on the moonbone ledge, separate from the correction slate. You will see, Majesty, that the mark belongs to House Carthmere, one of the participating alliance houses. Their count was underweight after border losses. The census office pre-registered inactive burdens for balance. A rustle passed through the court. House Carthmere, not the strongest house, not the oldest, but rich in winter stores, poor in living soldiers, desperate enough to purchase numbers if numbers could be dressed as loyalty. Thorne's gloved left hand closed once at his side. Nadine saw the glove crease. He was angry. Still late. Still not enough. She stepped closer to the ledger. Selda said, Do not touch it. I was not going to. Again. It angered Selda more the second time. Nadine leaned over the page, reading the seals, not the beautiful script. Script lied for people who paid scribes. Seals betrayed sequence. There was the House Carthmere mark. 3 vertical claws inside a merchant moon. There was the alliance count. 40. 3 added to their protected household weight. There was the census balance note. Inactive burdens. Pending transfer. And beside it, almost hidden under the decorative Luna border, a notch cut too deep for ceremony. Nadine pointed. That is not a balance notch. Selda's voice stayed smooth. It is exactly that. No. Balance notches sit after authorization. Thorne leaned over the ledger. And this one? Before. Selda gave a quiet sigh, patient and poisonous. Mistress Quade is reading registry habit as law. Buyer houses pre-register inactive burdens for census balance. That is ordinary. A house can pre-register a ledger space, Nadine said. It cannot own a living breath before transfer law exists. The words struck the room harder than a shout. Thorne looked from Nadine to the ledger. Show me the authorization. Selda's expression cooled by 1 degree. Only 1. But Nadine saw winter enter it. The authorization is on the correction slate, Selda said. Already reviewed. No, Nadine said. The correction slate shows erasure and transfer entry. Authorization is separate. A nobleman near the front frowned. Why would that matter? Nadine looked at him. Because a space can wait for a name. A buyer seal cannot touch a living line until the Crown authorizes transfer. The Moon Census Tablet pulsed faintly, but Nadine lifted one hand without looking back. No, not yet. Do not let them call this magic when it is ink. Thorne's gaze shifted to her raised hand. Something unreadable crossed his face, but she ignored it. Selda turned to the clerk. Bring the authorization leaf. The young clerk swallowed. Too hard. Nadine saw that too. He opened a narrow drawer beneath the ceremony table and withdrew a thin strip of black parchment. Unlike the Alliance ledger, it was plain, practical, and nearly invisible beside all that silver ceremony. He placed it on the ledge with trembling fingers. Selda took it before Thorne could. Transfer authorization, she said. Signed by Census Office. Prepared for royal approval. Nadine heard the flaw. Prepared. Not approved. Thorne did too. For royal approval? Selda did not blink. Ceremonial approval was expected after the census correction. Nadine looked at him. After my erasure, the registry became very quiet. Selda's voice sharpened. The correction was necessary to release the attached burdens. No, Nadine said. The buyer seal was already entered before you had authority to release them. Selda stepped closer. You have no standing to make that claim. My name was cut, Nadine said. Not my eyes. The clerk's breath shook. Nadine turned to the black parchment. Read the moon phase. Selda did not. Thorne took the authorization leaf from her hand. Not gently. The court saw that. Selda saw it too. Thorne read, Authorization prepared at second moonrise. Crown approval pending. Nadine pointed to the Alliance ledger. Buyer seal? Thorne looked. His face darkened. First moonrise. There, Nadine said. House Carthmere entered its buyer seal before the transfer authorization was approved. Selda moved quickly. Pre-registration. Census balance. Alliance law allows receiving houses to reserve inactive burdens before correction finalizes. Nadine turned to her. Reserve. Not receive. Selda's nostrils flared. Small. Deadly. Nadine pointed to the transfer notch beside the House Carthmere count. This is not a reservation mark. Reservation marks are hollow. This one is cut through the line. It is possession. No one spoke. The Moon Census Tablet did not answer for her. It did not need to. Nadine had led them from buyer seal to house claw mark, from Alliance count to transfer notch, from transfer notch to authorization leaf. One path. One sequence. One truth Selda had wrapped in ceremony and called balance. Thorne's eyes lifted to Selda. Why would House Carthmere possess 43 lines before I approved transfer? Selda bowed her head. Because the census office anticipated lawful correction. Nadine's voice came colder. Because someone promised them the wolves before the crown was asked. The black-blue glow behind her erased name deepened. On the Alliance ledger, the three-claw seal began to bleed silver around its edges. The authorization leaf curled at the corner. The transfer notch flared pale as exposed bone. Only then did the Moon Census Tablet burn the truth Nadine had already read into the stone. Buyer seal entered before transfer authorization was approved. Thorne looked from the burning buyer seal to Selda Grith's correction slate. His voice did not soften. Who promised House Carthmere 43 living lines before my approval existed? Selda Grith bowed before anyone could look toward the Luna ceremony doors. That was how Nadine Quade knew the next record was close. Not hidden in some deep vault. Not buried beneath old winter law. Close. Dirty law liked to stand beside celebration and call itself necessary. Alpha King Thorne Strake did not move from the Moon Census Tablet. The burned line still glowed across the black stone, harsh and pale as bone under moonlight. Buyer seal entered before transfer authorization was approved. Thorne looked from the burning buyer seal to Selda Grith's correction slate. His voice did not soften. Who promised House Carthmere 43 living lines before my approval existed? Selda lifted her head. Her face held the same controlled calm she had worn while cutting Nadine out of the census, but the corner of her mouth had tightened. One thread pulled too hard in an otherwise perfect weave. Majesty, she said. Promise is not a legal term. Nadine watched the court relax around that sentence. Not fully, just enough. They wanted Selda to be right. They wanted this to become language again. Language could be folded. Language could be filed. Language could be misunderstood until no one had to bleed for it. Selda continued. House Carthmere received a receiving estimate. That is all. Not a transfer. Not ownership. An estimate prepared before ceremony, so the Luna count would not fracture beneath irregular census burdens. Nadine looked at her. Say living lines. Selda's eyes cut to her. Irregular census burdens. Living lines. Mistress Quade has no standing to correct. My name was cut, Nadine said. Not my ears. A few wolves in the back lowered their eyes. Thorne did not. He looked at Nadine as if each sentence she gave him was a blade he had ordered made and only now felt at his own throat. Good. She would not soften because guilt had finally found him. Selda turned back to the king. Alliance houses request estimates before ceremony. It is ordinary. It allows the royal house to know which household counts may support the new Luna structure. Bring the estimate, Thorne said. Selda bowed again. It is likely with ceremony papers. Bring it. No apology. No pity. Only command. Nadine hated that the room obeyed him faster than it had ever obeyed truth. A clerk hurried toward the eastern doors, where the Luna ceremony waited behind silver panels and embroidered wolf banners. The sound of the bell had faded, but the ceremony had not ended. It lingered there like a mouth, waiting to swallow what the registry decided. The clerk returned with a folded parchment sealed in pale blue wax. Moon lilies were stamped along the edge. House Carthmere's 3-claw mark sat below the royal ceremony ribbon. Selda reached for it. Thorne took it first. Nadine saw Selda's hand stop in the air. Small, deadly. Thorne unfolded the parchment on the moonbone ledge below the tablet. Receiving estimate, he read. Selda inclined her head. As I said, Nadine stepped closer. Selda's voice sharpened. Do not touch it. I was not going to. The sentence had become almost ritual between them now. Selda hated it because it reminded the room that Nadine had never needed ownership to read what others missed. Nadine leaned over the parchment. The script was beautiful, full of ceremonial curves and soft assurances. Estimated household weight. Alliance support count. Provisional burden balance. Luna count reserve. There. Nadine's eyes stopped. Luna count reserve, she said. Selda answered too quickly. A standard category. No. Thorne looked at her. What does it mean? It means House Carthmere did not receive an estimate of empty spaces. Nadine pointed above the line, not touching the parchment. The reserve carries dependent hooks. A noblewoman frowned. Those marks are decorative. Nadine looked at her. Decoration does not attach to breath. The Moon Census Tablet pulsed once behind her. Nadine did not turn. No, let the court look with its own eyes. She pointed to the first hook beneath the reserve. This is a winter mark. Fresh. Renewed. Still tied to protected standing. Then the second. Dependent line. Then the third. Buyer seal pressure. Then the lower corner. Authorization time. Thorne leaned close enough that his shoulder nearly brushed hers. Nadine did not step away, because stepping away would make the record harder to read. She also did not mistake nearness for repair. Read the time, she said. Thorne's voice was low. Estimate received at last night's third watch. Nadine pointed to Selda's correction slate. And My correction? Thorne looked. The silence sharpened. Prepared this morning before first moonrise, he said. Selda moved fast. Majesty, estimates are requested before ceremony. That is not suspicious. Carthmere's count was unstable. The house needed provisional numbers. An estimate does not carry winter marks, Nadine said. These were living lines reserved by name. The words struck the registry so hard, even the lamps seemed to dim. Selda's face changed. Not enough for the nobles. Enough for Nadine. Thorne looked at the receiving estimate again. His gloved left hand closed on the ledge. The black leather creaked softly. Nadine saw the motion and filed it away. Always gloved. Always hidden. Always careful where law touched him. Where are the names? Thorne asked. Selda answered. Receiving estimates do not list names. Nadine said. This one did. The court turned toward her. She pointed to the parchment's underside. The ink is too thick along the fold. Something was washed. Thorne lifted the edge. Under the fold, where the ceremony ribbon had hidden it, faint lunar residue clung to the parchment in 43 tiny breaks. Not full names. Name. Shadows. Places where legal breath had been written, then rubbed thin enough for ceremony eyes to miss. Selda's voice cooled. Old ink transfer. No, Nadine said. Name removal. The Moon Census Tablet deepened to black-blue behind her, but still did not speak. It waited, like a judge refusing to help until the witness finished. Nadine read the path aloud. House Carthmere received a Luna count reserve at last night's third watch. The reserve carried winter marks, dependent hooks, buyer seal pressure, and erased name shadows. My correction slate was not prepared until this morning. Selda's smile returned, brittle at the edges. You are building accusation from residue. No, Nadine said. Sequence. Thorne lifted his eyes to Selda. The room felt the change in him. Note softness. Danger. If the estimate came first, he said, then Nadine was not erased to correct a corrupted line. Nadine finished it for him, because she would not let him own the truth simply because he had finally arrived at it. I was erased to clear delivery. The word delivery moved through the court like a winter wolf slipping under a door. Selda's nostrils flared once. There was no delivery. Nadine looked at the receiving estimate. Then, why did House Carthmere receive names before the Crown had approved their transfer? No one answered. The Moon Census Tablet did not reveal anything new. It only gathered what Nadine had already forced into sight. The promise mark, the receiving estimate, the Luna count reserve, the buyer seal pressure, the authorization time, the washed name shadows. Then the black stone burned the sequence in pale silver fire. House Carthmere received the promise before Nadine's correction was prepared. Thorne looked from the burning line to the hidden fold of the receiving estimate. His voice did not soften. Who wrote the names before they were washed? The hidden fold dried darker than the rest of the parchment. Nadine Quade watched the 43 pale breaks along the Luna count reserve, each one small enough to be ignored by a court trained to honor seals more than scars. The washed names did not rise. They did not speak. They only remained where someone had tried to make them less than evidence. Selda Grith looked at them with practiced disdain. Washed residue, she said. Not names. Alpha King Thorne Strake did not look away from the fold. Who wrote the names before they were washed? His voice did not soften. Selda bowed. Slower this time. Majesty, ceremony estimates are drafted by several hands. Scribes prepare provisional spaces. Names may be sketched, tested, corrected, then removed when no longer required. Nadine's mouth tightened. A living line is not a sketch. Selda turned to her. You have no standing to lecture the registry on line law. My line was cut, Nadine said. Not my memory of who stood at your counters. The Moon Census Tablet gave a low pulse behind her erased space, but Nadine did not turn. She kept her eyes on the washed fold. on the pressure marks, on the broken places where ink had bitten deeper than ceremonial drafting required. Thorne pointed to the parchment. "Read it." Selda's gaze sharpened. "Majesty, this is an estimate, not a trial." "No," Nadine said. "It became a trial when 43 protected lines were promised to House Carthmere before my correction existed." A murmur moved through the registry. House Carthmere's envoys stood near the Luna doors now, no longer smiling. Their ceremonial white cloaks looked suddenly too clean for the room. Selda noticed the court noticing them and moved quickly. "The receiving estimate does not prove possession. It proves only that alliance count numbers were being prepared." "Then why were the names washed?" Nadine asked. "Because they were not final." "No. Because they were recognizable." Selda's face still. "There. Small. Deadly." Thorne looked at Nadine. "Recognizable how?" Nadine stepped closer to the ledge. "The names were not taken from the active census." Selda snapped. "Impossible." Nadine looked at her. "You answered too fast." The room chilled. Nadine pointed to the first washed break beneath the fold. "Active census names are written from the tablet outward. Registry hand starts broad, then narrows. These were written from petition order." A clerk near the west arch lowered his eyes. Nadine saw it. So did Selda. "Petition order," Thorne repeated. Nadine nodded once. "My petitions." The words changed the air, not loudly, deeply. Thorne's jaw hardened. "You said she brought 7 petitions." Selda answered at once. "Incomplete petitions." Nadine looked at the receiving estimate. "Incomplete enough to reject, complete enough to sell from." One of the House Carthmere envoys took a step back. The Moon Census Tablet did not burn. Not yet. Nadine leaned closer to the parchment. "Here, first washed line. The stroke begins high, like Elder Vask's name. He cannot climb the registry stairs, so I wrote his petition first every winter. Second break bends inward. That was Irina Moth. Debt claimed, but still protected. Third line has a double pressure, where the scribe copied my correction for hail of black fen." Selda's voice went thin. "You are imagining names because you want the court to pity you." Nadine looked at her. "Pity never opened a store door." Thorne's gloved left hand flexed once. Nadine caught it again. That careful hand. That hidden mark. That unspoken trouble beneath his own crown law. But she would not follow his mystery now. Not while 43 others were still on the table. "Bring my petitions," she said. Selda laughed once. "You cannot command registry archives." "No," Nadine said. "But he can." Thorne turned to the clerk. "Bring them." The clerk did not move. Selda's voice cut softly. "The petitions were rejected." Thorne looked at her. "Rejected documents still exist." Selda's silence lasted half a heartbeat too long. Nadine felt the room catch it. The clerk swallowed. "Some rejected petitions are pulped after review, Majesty." "Some?" Thorne asked. The clerk's eyes flicked to Selda. Selda smiled without warmth. "To preserve archive space." Nadine said, "Mine were sealed under winter witness. They could not be pulped without a destruction mark." Thorne's face turned colder. "Bring the destruction register." Selda's control tightened visibly now. "Majesty, this is far beyond the Luna ceremony's proper scope. Then the ceremony can wait." The words struck the Luna doors. For the first time, the envoys of House Carthmere looked afraid. A second clerk brought a narrow destruction register bound in gray leather. Selda reached for it, but Thorne took it first. He set it beside the receiving estimate. Nadine read before he could ask. "There should be 7 destruction marks if my petitions were pulped." Thorne opened the register. "No marks. None," Selda said quickly. "Then they may still be awaiting disposal." Nadine looked at the washed fold. "No. They were copied before disposal." She pointed to the lower corner of the receiving estimate. "Petition crease." Thorne leaned closer. "What?" "The receiving estimate was laid over my petition packet, while the names were copied. See the pressure? Same fold spacing. Same winter witness ash along the edge. Selda's voice sharpened. Ash contamination is common in registry rooms, not from my hearth. The court went silent. Nadine did not explain at once. Let them listen. Let them understand that forgotten wolves had hearths, marks, old smoke, and witnesses. Let them feel how much law had tried to turn warmth into inventory. My petitions were sealed with black ash from the North Relief Hearth, she said. I used it because widows, debt, claimed wolves, and inactive marked dependents had stood there to witness their own names. That ash is on the receiving estimate. Thorne looked at the parchment edge. Dark dust clung there, almost invisible beneath the moon lily ribbon. He touched it. With one gloved finger, the Moon Census Tablet pulsed, not choosing, remembering contact. Selda said, That proves only that papers touched. Nadine turned on her. Yes. My rejected petitions touched House Carthmere's promise before my erasure was even prepared. The destruction register remained blank. The washed names showed petition order. The winter ash clung to the receiving estimate. The Luna count reserve carried living hooks, not empty spaces. Nadine had not needed the tablet to solve it. She had made the room see. Only then did the black stone burn the sequence she had already laid bare. Nadine Quade's rejected petitions were copied into the Carthmere Reserve. Thorne looked from the burned line to the blank destruction register. His voice did not soften. Who opened her sealed petitions? Selda Grith did not look at the petition shelf. That was how Nadine Quade knew the answer was there. Not in the destruction register, not in House Carthmere's silver ledger, not in the washed fold beneath the Luna ribbon. There, behind the west arch, where rejected petitions were stored in thin black boxes until the registry decided whether a name deserved law or dust. Alpha King Thorne Strake stood beside the Moon Census Tablet, the burned line still shining behind him. Nadine Quade's rejected petitions were copied into the Carthmere Reserve. His voice did not soften. Who opened her sealed petitions? Selda folded her hands before her gray gown. Majesty. Sealed petitions are opened during review. Nadine watched the warden's fingers. Still. Too still. Review does not copy names into a buyer reserve, Nadine said. Selda turned to her. You keep using buyer language because it inflames the room. No, Nadine said. The room is inflamed because your office put living breath on a receiving estimate. A low murmur passed through the court. House Carthmere's envoys stood near the Luna doors like men hoping velvet could make them invisible. The ceremony banners behind them seemed ridiculous now. Moon lilies, silver wolves, bridal knots, pretty symbols hanging over the sail of erased lives. Selda's mouth tightened. The petitions were opened for completeness review. That is ordinary. Then show the review mark, Nadine said. Selda's gaze cut to her. Thorne noticed. He was learning. Late. But learning. Bring the petition boxes, he ordered. Selda bowed. Majesty. Rejected petition archives are not meant to be opened during ceremony. The ceremony can keep waiting. The words struck the Luna doors again, harder this time. A clerk hurried to the west arch and returned with 7 narrow black boxes, each sealed with winter ash and bone thread. Nadine recognized them before they reached the ledge. She recognized the uneven knot on the 3rd box, tied by hail of black fen because his fingers had never healed straight after frostbite. She recognized the ash smear on the 5th, pressed by Irina Moth with both thumbs because debt-claimed wolves were made to sign everything twice. She recognized the small notch on the 7th, where Elder Vask had leaned too hard on the table because standing hurt him. Her throat tightened. She did not let it show. Selda said, As you see, the boxes are sealed. Nadine looked closer. No. One word. The clerk froze. Nadine pointed without touching. The bone thread is tied again. Not original. Selda gave a dry little sigh. Thread, can loosen in storage, not against the ash. Thorne leaned in. Explain. Nadine kept her eyes on the first box because looking at him would make the anger less clean. Winter ash seals grip thread. If the box had never been opened, the ash would sit unbroken under the knot. Here it is split, then pressed flat again, Selda said. Handling damage. Nadine moved to the second box. Same split. Third. Same. Fourth. Same. By the seventh, no one murmured. The registry had become a place where breath held itself. Nadine pointed to the underside of the third box. There is the opener mark. Selda's voice sharpened. Boxes carry many marks. This one is not storage. Nadine looked at Thorne. It is a warden. Key bite. Thorne's eyes darkened. Selda bowed her head as if disappointed by ignorance. Only a warden key can open sealed petitions for review. That is why the mark is present. Nadine turned to her. Then where is the review entry? Selda did not answer quickly enough. A small thing. A deadly thing. Thorne looked to the clerk. Review ledger. The clerk swallowed. Majesty. Selda said. Bring it. Too fast. Nadine heard the correction hidden inside permission. The clerk returned with a narrow ledger bound in dull blue hide. It looked humble beside the Alliance ledger and the correction slate. That made it worse. Cruel law often wore plain covers, so no one would suspect how much it carried. Thorne opened it. Selda said, You will find the petitions entered as incomplete. Nadine looked at the page. Not there, she said. Thorne paused. Selda's eyes hardened. Nadine pointed to the line above. That is not my petition batch. Mine carried North Relief ash. This entry has East Store chalk. Selda's smile was cold. A woman with no standing now claims to smell ink. No, Nadine said. I claim to remember the people you tried to turn into entries. The Moon Census Tablet gave one black-blue pulse behind her, but she did not look back. This proof was not magic. This proof was dirt, ash, thread, and marks left by hands that had trusted paper more than power. She stepped closer to the ledger. My batch should show 7 intake marks, 7 review marks, and 7 rejection marks. Thorne read the page. There are 7 rejection marks. No intake. His jaw tightened. No review. The court went cold. Selda said smoothly, Old clerks sometimes enter rejection first when petitions are clearly incomplete. Nadine turned to her. Then how did the boxes get opened by a warden key before any review was entered? Selda's nostrils flared. The first true crack. Thorne's gloved left hand pressed against the moonbone ledge. The leather creaked. For one instant, pale lunar light seeped between the glove and his wrist. Nadine saw it. A fading census mark. Not hers. His. Then he clenched his hand, and the light vanished. Nadine forced herself not to stare. His secret could wait. The 43 could not. She pointed to the opener bites on the boxes. These were opened. Names were copied. Then the boxes were resealed and rejected without intake review. Selda said, You cannot prove the order. Nadine looked at the receiving estimate beside the boxes. Yes, I can. She pointed to the winter ash on the Carthmere fold. This ash came off the boxes when they were first opened. It sits under the lunar ribbon, not over it. That means the petitions touched the receiving estimate before the ribbon was sealed. Thorne looked to the ceremony parchment. His face became very still. Nadine continued. The lunar ribbon was sealed last night at 3rd watch. The review ledger says my petitions were rejected this morning. The boxes were opened before the registry ever admitted reviewing them. Selda's voice dropped. Careful, Mistress Quade. Nadine looked at her. You erased my caution with my name. The Moon Census Tablet brightened. Not because it had discovered anything. Because the records had finally been forced to stand in the correct order. Re-tied bone thread, split winter ash, warden, key bites, missing intake marks, missing review marks. Carthmere ash beneath the Luna ribbon. Then the black stone burned the sequence Nadine had laid bare. Sealed petitions opened with warden key before review was entered. Thorne looked from the burned line to the warden key bites on the petition boxes. His voice did not soften. Who held the warden key last night? The warden key was not hidden. That made the room worse. It hung at Selda Grith's waist in plain sight, a long black iron key shaped like a wolf's spine, its teeth narrow enough to open petition boxes without breaking bone thread. Every clerk in the hollow pack registry had looked at it for years. Every widow had lowered her eyes before it. Every wolf who came begging for a name had watched it swing against Selda's gray gown while she decided whether their breath was worth keeping in law. Nadine Quade looked at the key. So did Alpha King Thorne Strake. Who held the warden key last night? He asked again. His voice did not soften. Selda placed one hand lightly over the key, not hiding it, only claiming it. The warden key remains under census custody at all times, Majesty. That was not my question. Nadine did not look at him. She did not need to. The edge in his voice was useful. That was all. Selda bowed. I held it, as warden. But holding a key does not prove unlawful opening. Petition boxes are accessed for ceremony, preparation, storage verification, and correction review. Nadine stepped toward the petition boxes. Then show the key custody line. Selda's mouth tightened. There is no need to burden the court with every internal entry. A burden does not ask for bread, Nadine said, and a key does not walk by itself. A few wolves near the back shifted. Thorne turned to the clerk. Custody ledger. The clerk looked once at Selda, too quickly. Then he went to the west arch and returned with a narrow, iron-bound book. Unlike the other ledgers, this one had no moon lilies, no ceremony ribbon, no decorative silver. It was ugly, practical, and heavy with use. Names were not meant to be beautiful here. They were meant to trap responsibility. Selda reached for it. Thorne took it first. The court saw. Nadine saw Selda's fingers curl against her palm. Small, deadly. Thorne opened the custody ledger on the moonbone ledge beside the petition boxes. Last night, he said. Selda answered before he found the line. The key was signed for evening custody inspection. Nadine leaned closer. By whom? By the census office. Offices do not have hands. Selda's eyes cut to her. You have no standing to interrogate registry custody. My standing was cut after your key opened my petitions. The Moon Census Tablet pulsed once behind her erased line, but Nadine did not let it speak. She looked at the custody ledger. There, last night's third watch. The entry had been written in Selda's hand. Clean, upright, narrow. Warden custody confirmed. Shelf order inspected. Petition locks intact. Locks intact. Nadine almost smiled, not with amusement, with anger finally finding shape. She pointed to the words. That entry says the petition locks were intact at third watch, Selda said. Correct. Nadine looked at the receiving estimate. At third watch, House Carthmere had already received the promise with my petition ash under the Luna ribbon. Silence tightened around the ledge. Thorne's eyes moved from the custody ledger to the receiving estimate. Selda did not blink. The timing of one ceremony estimate does not establish when petition boxes were opened. No, Nadine said. The ash does. Selda's voice cooled. Ash proves contact, not crime. Then the key mark proves opening. Nadine turned one of the petition boxes slightly with the edge of her sleeve, not touching the seal itself. The warden key bite cuts through the ash split. That means the key entered after the original seal was broken, but before the thread was retied. A nobleman muttered, How can she know that? Nadine looked at him. Because I tied the third box myself after Hale's hand failed. The room quieted, not out of pity, out of discomfort. Names had weight when someone remembered the hands attached to them. Selda lifted her chin. Even if a box was opened before final review, that can occur during preliminary sorting. Then where is the sorting mark? Nadine asked. Selda stopped. The question found the room before she could bury it. Nadine pointed to the custody ledger margin. Key sign-outs carry purpose marks. Review, sorting, disposal, correction, ceremony. Your line has none. Thorne looked down. His jaw hardened. No purpose mark, he said. Selda's expression remained controlled. An omission. The careful ones hid mistakes, Nadine said. The nervous ones hid crimes. The clerk flinched. Selda's eyes moved to him. Nadine saw it. So did Thorne. Answer carefully, Thorne said to the clerk. Who wrote the purpose marks last night? The young man swallowed. Warden Grith, Majesty, Selda said. I oversee all custody entries. Thorne looked at the ledger again. Then why omit this one? Because it was routine. Nadine pointed to the bottom of the page. Routine entries do not have scraped wax. The clerk's face lost color. Selda went still. Nadine leaned in. Along the lower margin, beneath the blank purpose column, a thin smear of dark wax had been scraped nearly flat. Not ceremony wax. Not registry seal wax. Carthmere wax. Three-claw wax had a resin smell, sharp and bitter, made to survive winter transport. I smelled that wax on the receiving estimate, Nadine said. And on the underside of the petition shelf. Selda snapped. Now she smells conspiracy. No, Nadine said. I smell the same seal in 3 places you claim never touched. The Moon Census Tablet brightened, but still waited. Thorne's gloved left hand pressed harder against the ledge. A thread of pale lunar light slipped from beneath the glove again, weaker this time, like a name fading underwater. Nadine saw it. So did Selda. For one brief second, the warden's eyes sharpened with something like opportunity. Nadine stepped slightly, blocking the court's view of Thorne's hand without meaning to protect him. Or perhaps meaning to and hating that she had. Thorne noticed. His gaze flicked to her. She did not let it become anything. Read the scraped wax, she said. Thorne looked back at the ledger. How? Nadine pointed to the Moon Census Tablet. Not with magic. With pressure. Hold the custody page above the black stone. The tablet remembers legal breath. It does not need to speak. Selda objected at once. Majesty, exposing custody records to the tablet during active anomaly may distort. Thorne lifted the page. The black stone gave off a low chill. Under its moonlight, the scraped wax darkened. 3 claw lines appeared beneath Selda's omitted purpose column. Beside them, a faint transfer symbol bled through. Not review, not sorting, ceremony reserve. Nadine's voice was quiet. The warden key was signed out for Carthmere's ceremony reserve before the petitions were reviewed, Selda said. Reserve preparation is lawful, not with sealed petitions. The custody ledger trembled in Thorne's hands. Nadine did not touch him. She did not soften. She read the path aloud so the court could not pretend the tablet had invented it. Key custody confirmed at 3rd watch. Purpose mark scraped away. Carthmere wax under the entry. Same wax on the receiving estimate. Same ash beneath the Luna ribbon. Same warden key bites on the petition boxes. Selda's smile had vanished. Only then did the Moon Census Tablet burn the sequence across the black stone. Warden key used for Carthmere ceremony reserve before petition review. Thorne looked from the burned line to the key at Selda Grith's waist. His voice did not soften. Who gave House Carthmere access to a warden key? Selda Grith's hand closed over the warden key at her waist. Not tightly. That would have looked afraid. Only lightly. As if the key were an ornament. As if every wolf in the Hollow Pack registry had not just watched the Moon Census Tablet burn a question toward it. Alpha King Thorne Strake stood beside the black stone, with the custody ledger open in his hand. His gloved left hand remained curled against the moonbone ledge, hiding whatever pale weakness had flickered beneath the leather. Nadine Quade did not look at the glove. Not now. Thorne's voice did not soften. Who gave House Carthmere access to a warden key? Selda bowed. No one, Majesty. House Carthmere had access to ceremony-receiving papers, not registry keys. The tablet is collapsing different procedures into one dramatic impression. Nadine watched the Carthmere envoys near the Luna doors. One of them had gone very still. Not the eldest. Not the loudest. A narrow-faced man with silver rings on 3 fingers and a white cloak clasped at the throat by the 3-claw merchant Moon. He was not looking at the key. He was looking at the ceremony pass hanging from his own belt. There, Nadine said. The man's eyes snapped to her. Selda's face stayed smooth. Mistress Quade points at shadows now. No, Nadine said. At belts. Thorne turned toward the envoy. Step forward. The man hesitated. That was enough to damn him for half the room. He came forward anyway, because refusing an Alpha King in the Hollow Registry would have taken more courage than purchase houses usually carried. Selda moved quickly. Majesty, House Carthmere envoys carry ceremony passes. All Alliance houses do. They are not keys. Nadine looked at the pass. A pale bone token hung from a silver chain, carved with the Carthmere claws on one side and the Luna ceremony moon on the other. Pretty, clean, dangerous. Turn it over, she said. The envoy looked to Selda. Thorne saw. Turn it over, he ordered. The envoy obeyed with trembling fingers. The underside of the pass bore a shallow bite mark, too narrow for a door lock, too precise for decoration. 5 thin cuts, 1 crooked tooth, 1 long scrape at the end. Nadine felt anger move through her ribs with a cold, steady shape. That is a warden key impression, she said. Selda sighed, almost pitying. Ceremony passes are pressed with registry marks, so the doors recognize authorized envoys. Doors do not need petition teeth. The registry went silent again. Thorne looked down at the pass. Petition teeth? Nadine pointed to the mark. A warden key has different bite rows. Main vault, death register, winter stores, petition boxes. That row opens sealed petition shelves. Selda's voice sharpened. That knowledge is restricted. Nadine turned to her. So was hunger. People learned it anyway. A low sound moved through the wolves gathered behind the nobles. Not voices. Breath. Selda stepped closer to the envoy. The pass cannot open anything. It carries recognition, not access. Then place it near the petition box, Nadine said. The envoy's face drained. Selda said, unnecessary. Thorne held out his hand. The envoy surrendered the pass. For one moment, the room watched the king hold a thing that might prove his ceremony had been dressed around a crime. Moonlight touched his iron crown. His jaw was hard. His eyes were colder than regret. Still no apology. Still no softness. Only the beginning of consequence. He placed the Carthmere pass beside the 3rd petition box. Nothing happened. A few nobles breathed. Selda's mouth almost curved. Nadine said, Wrong side. Thorne's gaze shifted to her. She did not explain further. Let him work for the truth he had approved too quickly before. He turned the pass over. The petition box gave a small click. The sound was almost gentle. That made it worse. Bone thread loosened by a hair's width. Winter ash broke along the knot. The box did not open fully, because the pass was not the whole key, but it had spoken enough of the warden's teeth to wake the lock. The court recoiled. Selda moved. A damaged lock may respond to any registry token. Nadine looked at her. Then, try a court token. Thorne snapped his fingers once. A noble surrendered a silver ceremony token. Thorne set it beside the same box. Nothing. He tried the Luna ribbon seal. Nothing. He tried the royal witness disc. The box remained silent. Then he placed the Carthmere pass near it again. Click. The sound traveled through the registry like a bone cracking under snow. Nadine turned to Envoy. Who gave you that pass? The man's mouth opened. Selda spoke before he could. All ceremony passes are issued through the census office. Nadine looked at her. That was not his answer. Thorne's voice cut low. Let him answer. The envoy swallowed. It was delivered with the reserve packet. By whom? Thorne asked. The man shook his head quickly. A registry runner, hooded. I did not know his face. Selda spread one hand. There. Routine delivery. Nadine looked at the pass again. Not routine. She pointed to the edge. The bite impression is sealed under the Carthmere wax. Thorne looked closer. Meaning? The warden. Key teeth were pressed into the pass before House Carthmere sealed it as received. Selda said, Ceremony passes are prepared before delivery. That is the entire point. No, Nadine said. Prepared with door recognition, not petition access. She turned toward the ceremony table. There should be a pass issue ledger. Selda's eyes hardened. Small. Deadly. Thorne noticed now without Nadine needing to make him. Bring it, he said. A clerk hurried, too frightened to glance at Selda this time. He returned with a thin white ledger edged in blue wax. Compared to the iron custody book, it looked harmless, almost festive. Nadine hated festive records most. They lied with flowers. Thorne opened it. House Carthmere pass issued last night at second watch. Nadine pointed to the custody ledger. Warden key signed out? Thorne turned a page back. Third watch. À Murmure Rose. Selda spoke quickly. The pass was issued before the key custody inspection. That proves the pass could not have been made with the warden key. No, Nadine said. It proves the issue time is false. Selda's smile returned, thin as a cut. Convenient. Nadine ignored the insult and leaned over the pass issue ledger. The ink is dry, but the moon sand is wrong. Thorne looked at her. Moon? Sand? Ceremony ledgers are dried with white sand. Custody records use black. This entry was written with black drying sand brushed under white. Selda said, A clerk may have used the nearest tray. No clerk uses black sand on Luna ceremony papers, unless the entry was copied from custody work. The clerk who had brought the ledger closed his eyes. Nadine saw it. Thorne did too. Who copied it? Thorne asked. The clerk whispered, I did, Majesty. Selda's face did not move. Thorne's voice lowered. From what? The clerk trembled. From a late correction strip. Selda said, Enough. The word cracked across the registry. Not loud, commanding, but Thorne's wolf answered under his skin. The air thickened. Every lesser wolf in the room lowered their chin before they knew they were doing it. Not enough, he said. Nadine felt the force of him beside her and hated that it steadied the room. Power should have arrived before erasure, not after 7 open doors and 43 endangered breaths. Bring the correction strip, Thorne ordered. The clerk did not move. Selda smiled faintly. It was discarded after copying. Nadine looked at the pass issue ledger. No. Selda turned on her. No? The edge is still here. She pointed to a sliver of dark paper caught under the blue wax binding. Barely visible. A fragment too small for a quart. Enough for sequence. Thorne drew it free with the tip of a dagger. Black parchment. 3 words remained, written in Selda's narrow hand. Carthmere, pass, petition, teeth. The room went utterly still. Selda said, Forgery. Nadine looked at the handwriting, then at the custody ledger, then at Selda's correction slate. Same hand. Selda's eyes flashed. You are not a hand examiner. No, Nadine said. I am a woman who has had 7 petitions rejected by that hand. The Moon Census Tablet gave 1 deep pulse. It did not speak until Nadine had placed the path before the court. Carthmere pass, petition, box response, issue ledger time, black drying sand, copied correction strip, Selda's hand, Petition teeth pressed before delivery. Only then did the black stone burn a new line beneath the others. Carthmere Pass carried warden petition teeth under Selda Grith's hand. Thorne looked from the burning line to the pass that had clicked open a sealed petition box. His voice did not soften. How many other houses received keys dressed as ceremony passes? The Luna ceremony doors opened 1 inch. No more. Just enough for silver music to leak into the holopack registry like an insult. Every head turned. Beyond the eastern doors, the Alliance Hall waited with moon lilies, white candles, and a bride's empty place beneath the Luna arch. The kingdom had dressed itself for union, while 43 living lines had been measured for sale. Alpha King Thorne Strake did not look toward the music. He looked at the Carthmere Pass on the moonbone ledge, the pass that had clicked a sealed petition box open, with teeth it should never have carried. How many other houses received keys dressed as ceremony passes? His voice did not soften. Selda Grith folded both hands before her waist, careful not to touch the warden key now. Majesty, ceremony passes carry registry recognition. That does not make them keys. Nadine Quade looked at the pass. Recognition opens doors. Teeth open boxes. Selda's eyes cut toward her. You are turning one defective token into a conspiracy. No, Nadine said. I am asking why ceremony was given a mouthful of petition law. The court did not laugh. It had forgotten how. Thorne turned to the Alliance envoys. Place every ceremony pass on the ledge. For 1 moment, no one moved. Then his wolf moved under his skin. Not a shift. Not a roar. A pressure. Ancient, cold, and royal. Enough to make silver cups tremble beyond the eastern doors. The envoys obeyed. 1 by 1, ceremony passes were laid beside the Carthmere token. House Verholt, House Grellin, House Ostmere, House Carthmere, House Rusk, House Halden. Each token was carved with moon lilies and household marks. Each looked polished, lawful, harmless. Nadine hated harmless things in legal rooms. Selda spoke quickly. You will find similar recognition marks on all of them. That proves nothing except proper ceremony preparation. Turn them over? Nadine said. A noblewoman hissed. Must the erased woman direct the king's investigation? Nadine did not look at her. The erased woman is the reason there is an investigation. Thorne's eyes moved once toward Nadine. Not soft, not grateful, aware. He turned the first pass over. No petition teeth. The second, no petition teeth. The third carried only door recognition. Then House Carthmere again. 5 thin cuts, 1 crooked tooth, 1 long scrape. The 5th pass clicked softly against the ledge when Thorne turned it. Nadine leaned in. House Rusk. Not as deep as Carthmere. Not full petition access. But enough to wake a winter store line. Enough to move provision rights from one household to another. She pointed. That one does not open petition boxes. Selda seized on it. Exactly. Different passes carry different ceremony functions. It opens stores, Nadine said. The silence changed shape. Food had a different weight in a wolf court. Names could be abstract until hunger entered. Thorne looked down. How do you know? Because I used to stand outside the winter store door with wolves the registry had marked inactive. Nadine's voice stayed even. I learned which teeth meant bread. House Rusk's envoy went pale. Selda said, Winter store recognition may be required when Alliance households assume support burdens. A support burden does not need a hidden tooth, Nadine said. A stolen ration does. Thorne turned the next pass. House Halden carried burial gate teeth. The room seemed to lose warmth. Nadine's jaw tightened. That one opens death standing. Selda snapped. Enough. Thorne's head lifted slowly. The registry bent beneath the quiet. Selda's command had been sharp. His was not. Not enough. The warden's face went still. Nadine saw the first true fear enter her. Not because of the tablet, because the king had stopped letting her decide where proof ended. Thorne set all the passes in a row. Issue ledger. A clerk brought the white ceremony ledger, hands shaking so badly the blue wax edge tapped against the stone. Thorne opened it beside the passes. Nadine leaned over the lines, reading timestamps, drying sand, seal pressure, and the tiny cuts where late correction strips had been pasted, copied, and scraped away. Selda said, "Majesty, if you expose every alliance past to this anomaly, you will humiliate houses that came in loyalty." Nadine looked at her. "Loyalty does not need petition teeth." Selda turned on her. "You would risk the Luna Alliance for 43 irregular lines?" Nadine's voice lowered. "You risked 43 living wolves for the Luna Alliance." The words struck Thorne. She saw it. His gloved left hand flexed at his side, and this time, the pale lunar light beneath the leather did not vanish quickly enough. A thin mark glowed through the seam near his wrist. A census mark, fading. Several nobles saw it now. Selda saw it fully, and smiled. "Just a little, Majesty," she said softly. "Perhaps this is why the ceremony should not be delayed. Royal standing weakens when unstable records are allowed to bleed into crown law." The court went cold. Thorne's face hardened. Nadine understood then. His mark was fading because the census law under him was rotting. A crown could not stand above erased legal breath forever. If the tablet remembered every hand that cut a living wolf out of law, then it also remembered the royal seal that had approved Nadine's erasure without reading. Selda wanted the court to see his weakness. Nadine stepped forward, not to save him, to keep Selda from turning another exposed wound into another weapon. "The king's mark is fading because the registry is false," Nadine said. "Not because the hidden wolves were unstable, because crown law has been standing on stolen breath." Thorne looked at her. Something fierce and unreadable moved behind his eyes. Still not romance. Not yet. But a man recognizing that the woman he erased had shielded his weakness with truth instead of mercy. Nadine turned back to the ledgers. "Read the pass issue times." Thorne did. Carthmere, second watch. Rusk, second watch. Halden, second watch. Custody key sign out? He turned the iron ledger. "Third watch." "No," Nadine said. "Look beneath the correction strip." The clerk whispered, "Please." Selda's eyes flashed toward him. Thorne lifted the edge of the pasted strip with his dagger. Under it, black drying sand clung to the original entry. "First watch." The room stopped breathing. Nadine pointed from the hidden time to the passes. The key was used before the ceremony passes were issued. Then the custody time was rewritten to make it look later. Selda said, "An entry correction." "No," Nadine said. "A false order." She set the proof in front of them, one piece at a time. First watch. Warden key used. Second watch. Alliance passes issued. Third watch. Carthmere promise received. Morning. My correction prepared. After that, my name erased. The Moon Census Tablet pulsed black-blue. Nadine did not ask it for help. She turned the House Rusk pass toward the Winter Store tooth, and the House Halden pass toward the Burial Gate tooth. These were not random. Carthmere received petition access. Rusk received provision access. Halden received death standing access. Thorne's voice was low. "Why divide them?" Nadine looked at Selda. "Because a living wolf is easier to sell in pieces of law." A sound moved through the room, not a voice. "Horror," Nadine continued, colder now. "One house buys the line, one house claims the rations, one house controls the burial right if the wolf disappears before challenge." Selda's face emptied. Too late. The Moon Census Tablet burned brighter, but it waited until every pass, every false time, every hidden tooth, and every rewritten custody entry had been laid open. Then it carved the truth across the black stone, Alliance passes carried divided rights to the wolves under Nadine Quade. Thorne looked from the burning line to the Luna ceremony doors. His voice did not soften. Close the ceremony hall. The Luna ceremony hall closed slowly. Not with a slam. With obedience. The silver music died behind the eastern doors, note by note, until only the hollow pack registry remained. Black stone, moonbone arches, 7 opened petition boxes, Alliance passes lined, like teeth on the ledge, and the Moon Census Tablet burning with the truth no ceremony could cover. Alliance passes carried divided rights to the wolves under Nadine Quade. House Carthmere's envoy looked as if he might run. No one moved. Alpha King Thorne Strake stood between the ceremony doors and the tablet, his iron moon crown catching pale light. The fading census mark beneath his glove still glimmered at the seam. Weaker now, exposed enough for the court to know the rot had reached even him. Selda Grith saw it, and tried one last door. "Majesty," she said softly. "Closing the Luna Hall before Alliance witness will damage royal standing beyond repair." Nadine Quade looked at the black tablet. Royal standing was already damaged. When living wolves were divided into petition access, provision access, and burial access, Selda turned on her. "You would break a kingdom over 43 irregular lines?" "No," Nadine said. "You tried to build one on them." The words landed cleanly. Thorne's gloved hand curled once, then opened. This time he removed the glove. A thin lunar mark burned across his wrist, pale and fractured, the royal census line that proved the Alpha King stood as legal breath for the pack. It was not gone. Not yet. But it was fading at the edges, each broken place shaped like a cut name. The court stared. Selda's voice lowered with terrible precision. "The Alpha King's own standing is unstable. The tablet has been poisoned by unlawful attachments." Nadine stepped forward before fear could spread. Not to protect Thorne's pride, to protect the truth from being buried under his wound. "The tablet remembers any hand that cut a living wolf out of pack law," she said. "His mark is fading because he sealed my erasure without reading what was attached to it." The room went still. Thorne looked at her. No apology came. Not yet. Good. Apology was cheap, if law stayed hungry. Nadine continued. But he did not sell them. Selda did not want the crown to know before ceremony, because ceremony would make the transfers look blessed. Selda's face hardened. "You have no line." "No," Nadine said. "And still, I can read yours." A low sound moved through the wolves in the rear of the registry. Thorne looked at Selda. "Remove the warden key." 2 guards stepped forward. Selda's hand snapped to the black iron key at her waist. For one breath, the polished warden vanished, and something bare looked out through her eyes. Fear, then calculation. "Majesty, no one else can stabilize the census before Alliance collapse," Nadine said. "That is why you made yourself necessary." The guards took the key. The moment it left Selda's belt, the Moon Census Tablet darkened, then flared. Not to crown Nadine. Not to choose a Luna. To answer custody. The warden key's teeth glowed along every hidden bite. Petition box, winter store, burial gate, ceremony pass. Thorne looked at the passes. "All Alliance transfers from tonight are void," Selda said. "You cannot void them without a restoration line." Thorne turned to Nadine. The court turned with him. Nadine knew what they wanted. A clean ending. A humbled woman restored by a powerful king. A name carved back into stone so the room could sigh and pretend justice had a shape small enough to fit one person. Thorne said, "Restore Nadine Quade's line." The tablet glowed. Nadine did not move. "No." A shock passed through the registry. Thorne's face tightened. "No?" Nadine held his gaze. "Not first." Behind her, the blank space where her name had been still breathed softly. 43 lines waited beneath it, silver and wounded. I will not climb back into law over the people cut beneath me, she said. Restore every hidden wolf first. Selda gave a cold laugh. She refuses royal correction now? Nadine looked at her. I refuse to become the ribbon tied over your crime. Thorne's eyes changed. Not softened, changed. He looked from Nadine to the tablet, then to the 7 petition boxes, the receiving estimate, the alliance ledger, the custody book, the passes dressed as ceremony, and finally to the court that had watched a woman become no one because it was easier than asking why. He placed his bare left wrist against the Moon Census Tablet. The court inhaled. His fading mark touched black stone. Pain crossed his face, sharp enough to make his wolf flash silver behind his eyes. But he did not pull back. By Alpha Crown and Census Witness, he said, voice low. All transfers made from Nadine Quade's dependent line are void. All divided rights are returned. All winter marks, provision claims, healer standing, burial standing, and protected breath attached beneath her name are restored before the court. The tablet answered in pale fire, not all at once. One line first, then another, then another. 43 silver breaths rose from the blank beneath Nadine's erased name and spread across the Moon Census Tablet, each finding its rightful place in pack law. No voices this time. No begging. No pleading. Only names standing where Sale had tried to stand. House Carthmere's seal blackened. House Rusk's store tooth cracked. House Halden's burial mark split down the center. Selda Grith stepped back, as if the stone itself had reached for her. Thorne did not let her look away. Census Warden Selda Grith is stripped of key, seal, office, and registry authority. She will stand judgment for unlawful erasure, petition theft, divided right transfer, and sale of protected legal breath. Selda's mouth opened. No defense came fast enough. The Moon Census Tablet burned one final record beneath her name. Warden cut living lines for alliance purchase. The court saw it. The wolves saw it. Nadine saw Selda understand that the room she had ruled by erasure would remember her completely. Only then did Thorne turn back to the tablet. Nadine Quade, he said, and her name in his mouth was no longer in order. Your line will be restored by witness, not mercy. Nadine looked at the 43 names now standing in law again, then at him. You sealed my erasure faster than you ever read my petitions. I did. The answer was quiet. Public. Not enough, but true. Thorne lowered his head before the court. Not as a lover. Not as an alpha asking forgiveness through charm. As a ruler placing guilt where it belonged. I approved what I did not read, he said. No ruler after me will have that power unchecked. He turned toward the registry clerks, the nobles, the frightened envoys, and every wolf who had watched law become a cage. From this night forward, no wolf may be erased from the Moon Census without protected witness from every line attached beneath them. No dependent breath may be transferred by estimate, reserve, ceremony pass, or alliance count. No woman's legal existence will be cut to balance a house ledger. The tablet burned the new law slowly, as if carving it deep enough to outlive cowardice. Nadine felt her own line return before she saw it, not as warmth, as weight. Nadine Quade appeared on the black stone, and beneath it, not hidden now, not smuggled through pity or silence, stood the restored witness marks of every wolf she had protected. Her knees almost weakened. Almost. Thorne reached as if to steady her, then stopped before touching. Good. He was learning the shape of restraint. Nadine looked at his bare wrist. The royal census mark had stopped fading. It did not shine brighter for her. It steadied, because the law beneath it had stopped lying. You are still late, she said. I know. You are still the man who sealed it. I know, and I am not your absolution. His mouth tightened with something like pain. No. You are the reason the pack still has a law worth kneeling to. The words moved through her more deeply than she wanted. She looked away first, Not because she was weak, but because forgiveness was not a ceremony, and she would not hand it to him for speaking well once. Behind them, the Luna Hall remained closed. The Alliance banners waited in silence. The Moon Census Tablet cooled under its new law, black stone veined with silver names that had almost been sold out of existence. Nadine picked up her bone registry token from the floor. This time, no one asked her to surrender it. Thorne stood beside her, close enough for the court to see that he had chosen consequence over ceremony, far enough not to pretend he had earned the right to touch her. "What now?" he asked. Nadine looked at the restored lines, then at the closed Luna doors. "Now," she said, voice low and clear. "The missing wolves enter before any alliance does." And for the first time in the Hollow Pack registry, the law made room.